Welcome back into the Friday Night 360 AZ preview show. It is that time in the show where we are breaking down these quarterfinal matchups. Haley Stasiak and Jordan Ham here with you to break all of this down. We're going to start out in 6A with Westview at Red Mountain. This is somewhat of an unexpected matchup between these two teams, as Westview upset Desert Mountain in round one, and then Red Mountain's just one of those teams that we've said could be the team to kind of push through 6A and get towards the end there. You saw both of these teams last week. What was your takeaways?
Well, with Westview, obviously a good win against Desert Ridge, 23-7. The defense was really good in that game, kind of able to limit that versatile offense that Desert Ridge has. But the playmaking that they have, they didn't have a ton in the first half. They went into halftime with a 7-0 lead, but they were able to rattle off some big plays at the end of the first half, and you just could feel the momentum starting to swing. And actually, I saw this on Twitter shortly after the game. This is a good point, actually, by Westview's head varsity basketball coach, Brendan McAvoy. He tweeted that Westview is 3 scores from being 9-2 on the year, and that's how they opened the season. They had close losses to Basha, Brophy, and Horizon. All of those were within 1 score. So obviously, Basha and Brophy were very down this year, but at the beginning of the season, I think Westview was still trying to find their identity a little bit. But by no means are they an easy out for Red Mountain. But on the Red Mountain side, this defense is really just starting to pick it up. They're 9-2 on the year, have rattled off 9 straight wins, losses to Chandler and Hamilton to start the year, but have been very good. Lance Lawson has been banged up a little bit, but he is still one of the most versatile playmakers in the state. And Ty McElroy is a guy. He's the leading rusher for the team as a sophomore, a very good running back. They have about 3 guys that are right around the 500-yard mark, where it's not one person completely taking over, but they're very good on the offensive side. And then the defense is just so good. I love what Shaq Daniels does in the secondary. He's a versatile playmaker. They have a lot of really good guys in that secondary, and then up front they just get to the quarterback. So Westview runs a unique offense, a little bit of a wing tee. They actually threw it a little bit more than I thought they would in the opening round, but they're going to have really good protection if they want to be successful against the Mountain Lions.
Another 6A matchup, Highland out Mountain Point. I was at the Highland game where they went into double overtime against Desert Vista. It's a resilient team, and they're going to need that resiliency against this Mountain Point team. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the Mountain Point defense and just how solid they are up front. And then you've got Nick Wallerstedt leading the offense. He's consistent, and he can run that ball. He's another one of those dual threats. Jakeem McKinney, Gary Bragg, Delano Salgado round out the key guys in the run game. And Salato's also a go-to guy in that pass game, as well as Lecrea Pleasant Johnson. They're just an all-around, well-rounded team. And
Salgado's really good in the secondary as well. That's the thing that I think is going to help Mountain Point. They don't give up many big plays defensively. That's huge, especially in the 6A division where you have so many huge offenses. You know, we talked about Hamilton, Perry, Chandler. Highland can break off big plays as well. That they're a very good offense as well. So that's something to look out for. But really, it's Highland had this game pretty much in hand in the regular season. They were up 13-0 and then gave up 14 unanswered. So it's a close game, and then Highland followed it up with that game against Desert Vista. So they're used to playing close games. So that should help them in this game. But I have a feeling it's going to be another one where it's going to just be a ground and pound. 2 really good teams in the trenches, just battling it out, trying to make it to the semifinals.
Moving into the 5A division now, we're going to start off with Chaparral at Centennial. You've got Jack Miller leading this Firebird offense. Tommy Christakos, another playmaker with them. And then Darvin Hubbard there in the run game. But for me, looking at this matchup, the youth that Chaparral has against the experience of Centennial is going to be the biggest challenge.
Yeah, and Centennial, I've said it multiple times, I think that they're the best team in 5A. They're the most complete team, with just a very good, they're very good across the board. You have Zidane Thomas. He's one of the toughest guys to bring down, and a Boise State commit, and just really can rack up the big plays. And what they'll continue to do is just take those 3-yard carries, those 4-yard carries, and then they're able to mix it up and get it out to Alex Escobar, and he's able to break some plays off and things like that. The thing that's working in favor for Chaparral going into this game, at least, they won 17-14 against Williams Field, which that's not necessarily maybe the tempo or the type of game that they want to win. That's the type of game that Williams Field wanted, a low-scoring game, kind of just sitting on the football and kind of, long drives, things like that. Usually when Chaparral's at their best, they're putting up about 35 points a game and just airing it out to all the weapons that they have. So they were able to play at the style of Williams Field and win that game. But essentially what I'm going to compare this to, Chaparral's Ash Ketchum. Just stay with me. Ash Ketchum over in Pokemon World. They just caught Charmander. Now they have to catch Charizard. Basically, I know she is gone. She is gone. Eric might be with me.
No.
So basically what Centennial, at least this year, what Centennial is just kind of a souped up version of Williams Field. So they're going to have to be even more on their game. I know that special teams wise, they had some issues. There were a couple missed field goals. Christakos at the end of the game was able to hit that all important go ahead field goal, but they need to play a very tight game, limit their mistakes, and usually Centennial is able to get a big play on the special teams, whether it's blocking a kick, a big return. They have to limit those if they want to be in this game at the very end with a chance to win it.
That is the game that I will be at this Friday. Next up in 5A, we've got Marana at Cienega. Marana upset Verado last week, so they've got some momentum going into this game. Obviously, Cienega is the #1 seed in the 5A division, so traveling down to Cienega will kind of prove for a little bit of a tougher matchup for Marana.
Yeah, and Marana's in a similar situation that Red Mountain's in. They lost 2 games early, so that kind of put them back a little bit. But
one of those was to Cienega, but it was a close one.
Exactly.
57-50.
Yeah, they played both of. I believe it's a combined 13 points that they lost by in their 2 losses. So they are in it till the very end. They're very talented. We've talked about Trenton Bourget, the quarterback. He spreads the ball around. Defensively, they're going to have to obviously limit Jamari Joyner, both in the air and on the ground. He's at his most dangerous when he's able to get outside of the pocket and make some plays, and things are a little bit improv. John Morgan on the defensive line, 7 sacks. He's got to be able to help limit that, as well as TJ Seffers, 100+ tackles on the year up front. So I think that this Marana team is up for the challenge of sticking with the Cienega team. It's really too close to call in terms of this one. But it's going to be a very good game, and I think it could come down to the last possession.
4A now, we've got Cactus Shadows at Sunrise Mountain. Now with Sunrise Mountain kind of an underrated quarterback there, Keegan Freed, he's got almost 3,000 passing yards and 600 rushing yards.
Yeah.
So you look at those 2 numbers, and clearly one of the more underrated dual threat quarterbacks in the state when you look at Brock Purdy and Tyler Shuck and all of those guys as well. But last week we had Mustangs head coach Steve Decker on, and he said that Freed has just been continuously developing that game, and they've seen that as the season has progressed. Cactus Shadows is a running team, so the go-to guy in that run game is sophomore Jackson Snyder. So Sunrise Mountain defense is going to have to protect to stop him, but Sunrise Mountain's offense with Keegan Freed at the helm, I think, has got this one. Angel
Ruiz is a name that you should know. He's their #1 wide receiver over at Sunrise Mountain, one of the most consistent guys, and had a great run at the end of the year. I think it was like four or five straight games of 100+ and like 3 touchdowns a game. Like he had a great run, and he's very just a matchup problem. If Cactus Shadows wants to escape with this win and the upset, they need to sit on the football, and that's going through Jackson Schneider. And you mentioned the dual threat quarterback on Sunrise Mountain's side. The Cactus Shadows also has one in Andrew Young. So that's they need to control the clock there. I think that's the same case for Chaparral as well. But they need to control the clock and really try to limit the opportunities that the Sunrise Mountain offense has, because there's so many weapons they can score so quickly. So you just need to limit those opportunities, control the tempo, and then you could be in a position to have an upset. But it's going to be really tough. This Sunrise Mountain team is very deep.
Next up, we've got Cactus at Sal Point Catholic. Now, I think I said this before with Sal Point in another game that we previewed. Bijan Robinson. That's really basically what you've got with Sal Point. You have to stop him if you want to beat this Sal Point team.
Yeah, he's such a good sophomore running back, and just picks up chunks of yards at a time, and he's just such a he reminds me a little bit in the style of play of a Drayson Hall, a little bit undersized, but can just make so many big plays. Has a great offensive line, but they definitely do have some other weapons along that offense, but it's first and foremost Bijan. So you need to try to limit that if you are Cactus. On the other side, another really good running back, around 1,800 yards on the year, Demarai Norris. He's been doing it for about 3 years. He just runs angry, and he doesn't run away from hits or anything. He kind of loves that. And then on the other, you also have Anthony Flores, who is another running back for Cactus. He's a sophomore, kind of coming up, being a supportive role right now. We could definitely see his role expand over the next couple of years. So two really strong running games going up against each other. But it's going to be tough for Cactus because you never know how teams respond when they have to travel and they have to go down to Sow Point for that game. So you never really know how that's going to go. But this should be a really good 4-5 matchup in 4A.
You know, as we're looking at all of these matchups, and for full breakdown for 6A through 3A, check out AZ Audibles on the website. But you're looking at these teams, there's a lot of young guys that are playmakers.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we're in the playoffs, but that kind of makes you excited for next season, looking forward to.
Absolutely. And, Centennial has quite a few guys, who are sophomores who are stepping up. But, yeah, there are going to be guys that are multi-year starters who are already making contributions. So the state of Arizona, I think, is in very good hands over the next couple of years in terms of talent.
3A now, we've got Sabino at Benjamin Franklin. Now, Benjamin Franklin has a very solid run game, but overall Sabino just has pretty good offense. Yeah,
and that's another, Tucson school that just has playmakers all around. Alex Bell, a very good quarterback, takes care of the football. Luke Moran, Bennett Nottingham, and Larry Gerald are his 3 big receivers. They've combined for 28 touchdowns from Alex Bell. So a pretty stout passing game. I saw them against ALA. They lost that game, but they were definitely in it. They were definitely a very competitive team. The defense is very good as well, and this is a team that made it to the state championship game last year, so they have some experience in playing those big-time playoff games.
Northwest Christian at Push Ridge. Push Ridge is probably the team to beat in this 3AA division. Northwest Christian did beat them in the first round of last year's playoffs. This is going to be yet another good matchup this week.
Yeah, and this is another division where Push Ridge is the 1 seed, but there are like 8 teams that could make a run.
And you've talked about that.
Yeah. And this is just such a really good 3A, but Push Ridge limits the opportunities. This was the 7-10 matchup last year. Northwest Christian, as the 7 seed, won that 28-21. So it should be another really good game. Coach Innes is just so good at even if they might be not the premier team in the regular season, no one wants to play Northwest Christian in the playoffs. They're always a tough out. So this should be a really good game down in southern Arizona as well.
We'll round things off with a couple 2A matchups. You've got St. John's at Thatcher. Thatcher is the defending 2A state champions, and they have a very solid run game. We talk about these run games in these past games. Thatcher is a running team. And then Scottsdale Christian at Santa Cruz Valley. Scottsdale Christian, our wonderful producer Eric Sorensen, did a feature on their quarterback Grant Schreier, who is leading the way for the Eagles in the offseason.
Yeah, and another really good defense for SCA.
Yes.
So yeah, that's our recap. We covered a ton of ground today, previewing this quarterfinal matchup. If you're out at a football game, make sure to use that Friday Night 360 AZ hashtag and continue to come back to Sports 360 AZ for various content. We have the recruiting roundup, AZ Audibles, Eric's Zone Read. We're also putting up some kind of by the numbers projects for these playoffs. So a lot of really good stuff on the high school front. Make sure to check that out on Sports 360 AZ. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Friday Night 360 AZ preview show.